Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
That's
David.
right. It is
Hey.
four of us back again.
Mm-hmm.
Or still.
Still yet. Yeah.
Still.
You know, what is time, right?
What is
You know?
time? It is both March again and March still.
Yes.
So that's interesting to note as well. What is time indeed?
Right.
So let's kick off with talking about what I think is the most interesting story of the week, but also kind of speculative, I think.
Mhm.
So one of the or two of the major things that the big studios have been waiting on to start releasing some of their blockbusters in theaters again was for America's two biggest box office markets to reopen. That is New York and Los Angeles. New York actually just reopened. We talked about that in a recent episode. They're opening at, I think it's 50% capacity or 25%.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's 25% capacity, no more than 50 people.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
And then we just got word today, if I can find, there's the link, that Los Angeles movie theaters could open as soon as Saturday, which, as of us recording, is the 13th. This episode will come out on the 15th, so we're talking about it as if it is still to come, because it is. But that's very exciting news. They would do the same kind of restrictions, obviously. Yes, 20. Oh, you know when you open articles and it's like great, and then ads start to load slowly and then it jumps all around.
Yeah.
The internet.
They will open it. They will also open at 25% capacity or 100 people, whichever is less. And they're also opening gyms and indoor dining at limited capacity. So LA is making some big moves, which means that upcoming blockbusters like Disney's Black Widow might be safe to release in May.
I think it definitely will be. When you also consider that President Biden announced today that he has a target of May 1st for all Americans to be eligible for the vaccine. When you consider a lot of states have already been making their way through their phases 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Most adults probably will be eligible for a vaccine prior to May 1st, but that hard target May 1st. I think the most we could see Black Widow move at this point is maybe back to a little bit later in May, but I think that first weekend is a pretty safe spot at this point, and then blockbusters left and right after that.
It feels like it. We just recently heard that Fast 9, the latest entry in the Fast and Furious franchise, was being moved again, but it was only from what, May to June or something? Like, it wasn't a massive delay. It was a short one, which is to say a lot considering this movie was supposed to kind of open the blockbuster season last year.
Yeah, and then we also heard Quiet Place 2 moved up.
Yeah, Quiet Place 2 moved up from September to Memorial Day weekend.
I'm going to jump ahead and just think, everything goes well and we operate on this and movies release on schedule and, we're still at the capacity and the safety limits and everything goes like this. What do you think this is going to do with spoilers? Because this is going to create a quicker funnel into how many people are able to see a movie at a time. And we're so used to just having this, 10 theaters with unlit with hundreds of people in there, just bam, 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 movie after movie and just blast it. Are people going to be, and that's what we're used to. Are we going to still be able to do that? Are people going to be able to adjust out of respect for people who maybe haven't seen movies, or are we past all of that?
This is a movie podcast, so we won't go into this, but I could talk for hours about people and their WandaVision spoilers.
Oh man, I know.
That show debuts in the middle of the damn night everywhere in America. I don't know how the release goes in foreign countries, but it comes out at midnight Pacific Standard Time, which means 2 a.m. Central, 3 a.m. Eastern. And every morning I wake up and have to avoid spoilers like the plague because people watch it in the middle of the night.
Yeah, there's a TikTok account that's like it's 3:21 a.m. time to talk WandaVision.
Yeah.
And it's like I haven't even tried yet, man. It's
Right.
7 in the morning.
I'll wake
Quickly
up
swipe past that one.
and Facebook will have articles from like Entertainment Weekly, like, can you believe this happened on WandaVision? No, I've been
So
awake for 5 minutes.
if that's the case, and the thing about the internet is there's no arguing with the people who love to spoil things. They want to just talk about it immediately because they've seen it. There's no arguing with them. They're going to do it. So it's unfortunately we're the a-holes for being like, hey, I really don't have time to watch a 40-minute show or go see a movie first thing at midnight and talk about it immediately on the internet. So I have no doubt, like, yeah, you're right. Like 50, 60 people, they get like a little pre-advanced screening. And then before the next one gets come in, as opposed to like 30 theaters all having the same movie. So yeah, I think there'll be a bit of a slow rollout in terms of spoilers. It's a good call.
I guess the big question would be, what will be the first movie to really have big spoilers? I'm sure there will be something in Black Widow, but we also know that movie is a prequel, so I wouldn't expect any earth-shattering spoilers.
Yeah.
But
unless, now we're getting into big predictions here. Unless they jump forward to post Endgame, and we see some kind of post-credit scene that has to do with Florence Pugh.
That would be most likely, because I mean, look, in-game spoilers abound. Black Widow died. They're not going to bring her back in a prequel. That would be silly. But we do have good indication that they're setting up Florence Pugh's character to kind of be introduced into the MCU in a big way. So yeah, I think you're right. If it's anything of note, I think it would have to do with her. What do you think, Andrew? How do you feel about spoilers, and if we're going to be able to keep ourselves contained?
I think it'll be interesting in these next few weeks, especially whenever they do intend to open it up in May, and what's going to happen with like a general thing whenever it comes to like watching movies now. I feel like watching movies is a different experience.
That's true.
I thought you have a good way of this is not me ragging you. I swear, I know it comes across that way a lot. You have an interesting speech pattern sometimes where I think you're going to add more to a sentence, but it was the end of your sentence. Cracks me up every time. I was like, you're going to add more to that. Nope. No, it's not your fault. It's just funny to me.
Okay.
You don't
start again.
No,
you don't have to start again.
It's fault. I'm not saying you made perfect sense. I think it was your inflection.
Well, no. I lost internet connection.
Oh, so maybe you froze and I didn't notice.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Zoom. Everything's so weird.
But my thing is that when it comes to going to the movies now, do I think spoilers are going to be a thing anymore? I think it's probably going to go back to the way it was. It'll probably be like, because we're so ingrained in this. We have so much like Marvel movies, anything that's a franchise now, almost kind of, it doesn't really rely on spoilers. I don't want to say that, but like you kind of anticipate it now. And unless you are a diehard fan of stuff, then maybe you're, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. The only thing I'm just, yeah.
I think we get it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to stop because I'm too deep in thought.
You're too deep in thought. But so that is good news for movie fans in Los Angeles who feel comfortable going out to the theaters. I was just getting the kind of threshold they have to meet there, and the threshold for Los Angeles County is they must distribute 2 million vaccine doses to underserved populations and have fewer than 10 new cases a day per 100,000 people. They're expected to hit the vaccine milestone on Friday. which means that county officials will then be able to sign off for cinemas to reopen. So that's why it may happen Saturday. It's not a done deal, but they're expected to hit that vaccine threshold.
I am worried about bigger cities.
Of course, yes.
Just because they're bigger. Just obviously because they're bigger populations. But if the downward trend is that they are, if infection rates do go down in bigger cities, then give it a shot.
Yeah.
See what happens.
I would shot vaccine.
Don't throw away. Everybody's everyone's a critic and thinks that, I mean, us included, and thinks that they would be a lot better if they were in charge. But I totally get why it's taken the bigger cities much longer than cities like our own. It is a lot scarier there. I wouldn't be as comfortable in a New York or LA movie theater either. So
many times when we go here in Oklahoma, it's just what 2, 3 of us, 3, 4 of us. But who knows? I mean, not many people are in the theater.
When AMC reopened with their capacity threshold, I remember thinking, man, in Tulsa, that's the normal day. We're not a community that packs the movie theaters all the time. So, but obviously LA is. So it makes sense why it's taking so long. Better safe than sorry, I say.
Sure.
Yeah, I did kind of laugh when you said that about gyms and what was the other venue? Gyms and restaurants stuff.
Indoor
restaurants. I was like, oh, so LA is now at the point that Oklahoma decided to be last May.
Yeah, for better or worse, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not following the numbers in California, so I won't judge the decision, but
if they think they're at that point, then cool. I mean, it sounds like a good sign.
I hope it works out. The only thing we do really know is that vaccines are really ramping up, and we have a lot of evidence showing that they work. So we're coming out on the other side, people.
Closer and closer.
Okay, that's really the main bit of news I think that I saw over last week. So let's get into our review, which is a brand new movie. We've done all brand new movies so far this season.
That's right.
We haven't completely given up on the idea of doing older movies, but
no, one of these days James Bond would come out and I would love to revisit the entire James Bond series. And I'm very excited about that.
I know.
One day it'll happen, but who knows when.
Yes. We have to do that out of spite now.
Yeah.
Now I wonder if maybe they will go ahead and ramp it up and maybe release it a little bit at a sooner date, because what's it at now? October?
I wouldn't leave Bond alone.
Well, I think Bond might be in Thanksgiving now, which would be a good spot. Anyway.
Thanksgiving makes sense. Yeah.
I'm a double check.
Usually, it usually does, because usually Bond movies fall right around that area. So it definitely makes sense.
I don't remember every date. It was supposed to open last spring, then it was going to open last fall, and now we are at dun, 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 dun. I wasn't ready to do that yet, but I did it. October 8th, so before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what Bond's looking at. But anyway,
hard to imagine.
This week we're gonna do our review about Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon, a brand new film, just came out as of us releasing this about a week ago, and this is Disney's second experiment with their Disney Plus with Premier Access thing. So they did that with Mulan, right?
They did that with Mulan. That was an exclusive.
Yeah, that was exclusive.
That didn't have a theater release. This is also in theaters for at least 45 days or so.
Yeah,
if not more.
So Andrew Garrett and I watched it in a theater.
Oh wow.
David, I know you watched it at home.
I did. I tried the Premier Access.
It'll be interesting. At some point we can talk about kind of the differences there. But I'll start out by saying It was very good. I liked it a lot. It's I feel like David would be the expert on this. Was it a completely original story, or is it based on something?
It's original.
That's what I thought.
I think it takes a lot of heavy influences from what I've read from a lot of South Asian folklore, and so there's bits and pieces taken, but I don't think it's based on anything specific.
It's about a world where they used to be a unified country, and now they've kind of divided over this desire to hold the dragon gem, which is kind of like this magical gem that holds the power to bring back the dragons, because dragons have gone extinct, or rather they were kind of killed off by a magical force, and
known as the Droon.
And it is Raya's duty to guard the dragon gem. And because this movie is so new, we should probably be careful with spoilers, so I won't go into details, but something hits the fan, and she's got to prove her worth. What do you guys think?
I really dug it. At first I was uncertain as it was going at the beginning, but it's quickly kind of captured my imagination, and it's a lot more action heavy than the last couple of Disney movies. There's kind of been this series since like early 2010 of like musical, non-musical, musical, non-musical. So you had Tangled, and then you had like Wreck-It Ralph, and you had Frozen, and then you get like Zootopia and Big Hero 6. And the director of Big Hero 6 is the director here, or co-director here. So it really kind of brings a lot of that sort of like action feel that movie had, and a lot of the heart that movie had. Big Hero 6, I feel, is like one of those kind of like more underrated Disney films over the last few years. And so I really loved that. The two main characters, Raya, and the other one was Namari. They're great. I mean, they're fantastic. It's been a long time since we've had two, I think, characters this developed, or this that just feel this relatable in a Disney movie. So I dug it, and had a lot of fun with it. And it looks gorgeous. Like, it looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Even at home. But what about you? What about you, Andrew? What about you, Garrett? In a nutshell.
Do you want to go, Garrett?
Go for it.
Okay. I will say that this movie is beautiful to look at. It is an absolute, like, the animation is really good. I loved like it I love the culture that it was kind of surrounded. I love the mysticism that it has, and I love that it has such a, like, there's so much imagination flowing through it. I think it's a great like tribute to animation, because they blended both 3D animation with 2D animation. And they did a great job with both of it, and that really caught my eye. It was action packed. I felt there were times when I thought like the plot was getting a little predictable, especially in the beginning, because it sets it up. I'm not going to spoil it, but it does set it up, and afterwards you just kind of think like, oh, wait a minute, this is probably how it's going to end, and that's what kind of drew me back a little bit. I'm like, oh, I kind of already know the ending. But what really got me was just like, really, with like, I'm a sucker for kung fu. Anything that's kung fu, show it to me. Like, I love kung fu movies, and this obviously is a kung fu film. So I was very, very entranced by it. I would. This is a movie that I wish I would have seen 3D. I think 3D would benefit very solely from this. Very much from this.
I hadn't thought about that, but a lot of the stuff with the dragon,
Yeah,
running on the rain, things like that, that could have been pretty interesting in 3D.
Yeah, and I don't like 3D. I mean, 3D is not my thing, but like, this would have been an interesting film in 3D.
Hmm.
So that's what I got to say about that.
I think that it was Josh, you and I had a conversation a while ago about not having a lot of good action adventure movies anymore, and I think this one is really fits the bill. I mean,
It does.
It's got a very Indiana Jonesian, Mad Maxian, into the world vibe. It reminds me a lot of the Uncharted video games, where a lot of times you're going through a jungle and you're looking for a goal, some kind of treasure that you're looking for. Even to an extent, Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, there's a lot going on there. I don't want to get too deep into it, but there's a few connections that you can make with what Raya's tasks are. The animation is beautiful. Again, they use some comic book-esque illustration to illustrate like fantasy, and the difference in reality. One of the things that really stands out is there are several times where some of the characters will be crying and they like smear away the tear, and you can see it just like follow the finger, and it just kind of glistens and lingers for a little bit like it would. And it was just beautiful. A lot of times you see the scenery just by itself and it doesn't even look animated. So it's just absolutely beautiful to look at. And then the only thing that I'll say is, Andrew, I don't know how you saw the ending coming, because I didn't. I thought it had a very nice twist ending that you wouldn't normally get from your regular hero adventure movie, in my opinion.
What a shame we can't talk about it.
I know. I don't want to say too much, but it didn't go the direction I thought it was going to go.
We can't throw up the spoiler warning wall and talk it out.
I don't know. I mean, it's such a new movie.
It is.
I'm just gonna.
I won't spoil. I'll try to avoid spoiling anything, but I do want to talk about, at the core of the story is about, and it gets a little repetitive maybe, but the story is about trust and trusting one another, and how having letting your guard down and trusting someone is the first step towards real unity, and the first step towards really having an understanding and moving forward through things like grief, through things like hardships, which feels like, I don't think they've started working on this movie before the pandemic, but is kind of one of those, these stories keep coming out of the pandemic, and it's like, wow, we did kind of need this movie a little bit coming out. I'm not saying it's like the perfect thing for that, but the idea of like a divided nation and how there's this lack of trust amongst all these people, and how we need to bring back that kind of element really kind of like, it stands out as relevant today. So compliments towards that.
Adele Lim said, you talked about trust being a big message of this movie. And Adele said, even though our movie is directed towards children, the effort is realistic in that it's not about doing it one time. It's about continuing, even though it doesn't work sometimes, even though you get betrayed, even though it fails. We have to keep reaching out and pull people together, because that's the only way we are going to get through this. And that's basically, a really good message that you don't really see a lot, but you're right. I think a lot of people need it right now, is to be able to trust and to do the right thing for the other people. And some of the other creators have said similar things, that they feel like it's very relatable in the world that we live in right now. So they're very excited to see how some of those messages, coincide with the current atmosphere.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those. There's this old saying, like, even if you know the risks, that you could be hurt, you could be betrayed. Someone used to say, if you do something nice for someone, like out of the kindness of your heart, and they betray you, they burn you on it, that's a reflection of them. But you choosing to never help anyone or never do anything for someone else because you're afraid of that is a reflection on you. So make the best effort, if, be open. If you're going to, I'd rather be taken advantage of because I'm a good person than never help anyone, never open up, never do anything for someone because I don't, because I don't trust them.
There's
There's an element of that.
They do a good balance of showing, Raya has her trust issues, and then Sisu has her trust issues, and they do a good job of balancing that and showing you, right? It's not good to be 100% this, and it's not good to be 100% that, but you have to be able to balance those two things in a positive way. Sometimes you have to be a little distrusting. Sometimes you have to be a little more trusting than you're comfortable with, and they do. It's a really strong presentation of that struggle that people might have, especially with people with differences.
Yeah. Raya's character has part of who she is not to trust people.
Mhm.
And she has extremely good reason for it, that you see unfold pretty early on. So there's never a point, at least I wouldn't think, where you would be like, wow, Raya, I don't know why you're so mistrusting of people. But part of her arc is that, yeah, she has to learn along the way when it is appropriate to let someone else kind of take charge.
Yeah, Raya is justifiably untrustworthy. She was burned in a really bad way, and you'll see that that's all like the setup of the movie. This movie spans a while of time. Like the opening events happen, and then there's I think, if I remember, like a 5-year gap between that and the rest of the movie. So you kind of see a growth in a lot of the characters. But I really thought that the story worked its way through in a really cool way. All the lands, all the regions that they go to seem really diverse and interesting. Every step of her journey is a different challenge. And that speaks to the sort of, like you were talking about, Garrett, the action adventure component.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same thing, 5, 6, 7 times in a row. It's like, oh, I have to use a different kind of wit or a different kind of strategy that I've learned over my time to figure this out. And I think that's a really cool element that, it took time. This journey didn't happen overnight. It took time for her to grow and become who she is. And you see how that reflects in how she handles the challenges. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I really do like that observation. I like how I really do like how the trust was broken.
Mm-hmm.
There were times when I was trying to figure what the theme of the entire movie was. And I'm glad you said something about it's all about, I don't know if it was you, Garrett, or David, but it's about trust. And I really do like that element. And yeah.
You see throughout I like the different land aspect for several different reasons. But you also get a bunch of side characters, which are great.
Mm-hmm.
They're fantastic in their own respective ways. They're I don't have anything bad to say about any of them.
Yeah.
But I do think that for me, the only poke that I have at this movie is I feel like her quest was very easy overall. It was pretty easy, which I guess, again, you put your message into trust. You hope that you wouldn't come across too many struggles if you're, being honest and telling the truth and doing all of those things and trusting the people to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my one minor thing is that there was a lot of action and adventure, but the struggle itself to achieve the quest was pretty darn easy overall.
I guess it's one of those things that when you think about it, so
I think that's kind of how
I'll wade into spoiler waters here, but I won't spoil anything. But if you think about it, the way they set it up, her first quest, right? And she's in the trailers. This is no spoiler. Her first quest is finding the dragon.
Yeah.
Which I guess clearly took her 5 years because she shows that she's explored the foot of every river in her land, in the land of Kumandra, right?
Right.
So that's her initial quest, is finding this dragon. And so at the, as the movie starts, she's completing that quest. And then from there, it takes off of, hey, here's your new mission.
That's true.
So that new mission is, she does handle it pretty well. And she picks up new friends along the way that kind of make her mission easier or more difficult, depending on which ones they are. But I guess, there's sort of the implication that over the years it took her to find Sisu, the last dragon, it prepared her to go on this seemingly more challenging mission, because it's like, hey, go do this thing, go put together the world again, essentially. But let's talk about our antagonist, Neymari, who I thought was one of the coolest, most interesting stories we've had for a for lack of a better word, a bad guy in a Disney movie for a while, like in a long time. Where she goes through this full arc of, she's tasked with taking or finding the item at the beginning that sets the whole series of events in motion, and her mission becomes to find, to restore this order from, the perspective of her family. So you have like her and Raya are clashing because they're both trying to basically do the same thing, but for different reasons. And kind of seeing that your enemy isn't necessarily always evil, that they're, everybody has their own agendas, and it's finding the common, I guess, roots in it. But I thought she was really interesting, really great, and I really loved her story. And I love that this movie, at the end of the day, this movie doesn't have a bad guy. It just has, like the wrong. I get like the bigger picture is the bad guy, know.
Go ahead.
Well, the thing is, sorry, what?
No, go ahead, Andrew.
No, the thing is that like I feel like that's a good character development, because like there's no villain in this, and the thing is that like, that's like the overcoming story arc, and really the character arc. I do like that observation that like these people are not motivated by any evil intent. They just made bad decisions.
Yeah, the villain is more society and this idea that, oh, they come from this place, so you can't trust them. Or they come from that place and you can't trust them. Yeah. But it shows Neymari's journey shows that like those sort of attitudes can be overcome through, through conversation and through exploration and through just learning to hear each other and trust one another.
Yep.
So I think that's great.
Yeah. She's very relatable as far as you understand, what she's been told and taught their whole lives. And then you see the struggle that she goes through whenever she kind of realizes her beliefs and thought processes may not have been accurate the whole time, and her struggle with that. And it really is just nice to see, again, people being able to trust one another despite thinking different things when they understand the greater good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was going to wait to talk about the theater and versus Premiere Access experience until Josh got back. So until then, do you guys want to talk about like the voice acting or the performances?
Well, actually, before we do, because yes, I do, but I want to pose this to you while we're just talking about the movie itself before we get deep into the cast. I read a review from someone, Glenn Weldon of NPR, and he said in his review, it's her flawed nature that makes Raya the most compelling, most sympathetic, and most layered Disney princess in the company's long history, and what makes Raya and the Last Dragon the best Disney animated feature in many years. David, you are the resident Disney expert. How do you feel on her rankings as far as a relatable and believable Disney princess character?
I think it's definitely up there because her, and this is kind of, I guess when it comes down to it, this is the knock against that line of thinking, is because honestly, her being a princess is secondary, if anything, maybe tertiary to her entire identity. This movie isn't about her being a princess. This movie is about her sort of adventure, and it's about her quest to restore restore the world to what it was. So, compared to someone compared to someone like Rapunzel in the movie Tangled, whose story is a little bit more of a traditional, fairy tale type story, it's kind of an apples and oranges thing. I feel like she's more comparable to, like the character of Judy Hopps in Zootopia, who also is an incredibly fleshed out character. She's not a princess. She's not, a royalty. So she doesn't get thrown in that category. But I would say that there are a lot of these great movies with really good, dynamic, interesting female characters that Disney's been working on. But that princess moniker is almost, I feel like, a disservice to someone like a character like Raya, because you're expecting Frozen. You're expecting Cinderella and Snow White and this sort of like a cookie cutter image. But I feel like Raya definitely feels to me in line with a lot of the other characters that we've had in recent history. Going back to Big Hero 6, Zootopia, even Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, they make all the jokes about Vanellope being a princess, and I feel like Vanellope is a really different character with a lot of different traits and flaws that you could look at. So I think Disney's been on a good run of doing a little bit more work and making characters not just a stereotype or an archetype, but really evolving that. But yeah, I would say if you're forced to call her a Disney princess, she is the most dynamically interesting Disney princess character, because her story is not tied to her royalty or tied to her being a princess.
And I think that's what maybe that's what they intended by that, because she is a princess. I mean, her father is the head of a land, thus making her a form of royalty, whatever that may be. But I think it is, maybe in my opinion of it, it was an idea to, you can be a princess, but like, that's not what you have to be. Like, you are a princess, but like, that's not what you are. And I think the same article I read is, kind of saying those other Disney princesses, what is their defining trait? And their argument was they don't have one. They are a princess. Like, that is it. There is nothing about them. Whereas Raya, while she is a princess, is so much more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unfair in a lot of ways, depending on who you're making the comparisons to. She's I feel like Raya is very much in the mold in terms of, the princess identity as Moana was. Moana's journey is very different than a lot of other princesses. It's kind of similar to, Pocahontas in the 90s. Like, people are like, oh, Pocahontas is a princess. And it's like, not really, no. And her story is so much broader than just whatever, Snow White's was, waiting for, your prince to come. Comparing, Raya to the Disney princess characters of the 30s and 50s and 60s, it's not really even comparable. We've come I think in general, people have come so much further in storytelling than they had, back when animated movies were 75 minutes. So, but I agree. I agree in general, though, that Raya is one of the best characters they've had in terms of her flaws, her unique characteristics. She's badass, and she's actually very fun. She's very witty. So, I kind of enjoyed that about it. Cool. Hey, Josh, welcome back.
Hi.
Thanks. Sometimes, you have technical difficulties in this age of computers and video conferencing.
We should when you blank out, we should throw up one of those images of like Andrew covered in wires, like da 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 da. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
We'll turn him into stone, and he's just
yeah.
What could that be?
Reference to the movie.
We were just about to get into some theater versus home experiences, Josh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'll start by saying I bet. Well, no, actually, never mind. I was going to say, I bet that at home, David didn't have people grunting around him. But now I think maybe he probably did.
You'd be surprised.
I would be surprised. No, the theater experience was fine. I don't think we would probably have a lot to say on it that is different than what you would expect.
Whoa.
It was fairly low attended.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we went on a Tuesday night, handful of people there, but it felt pretty safely distanced.
Mm-hmm.
The movie was beautiful on the big screen.
Oh, I bet.
There were not that many distractions. So how was the premiere access experience?
It was pretty good. We were at full capacity at my house. It was all three of us, and at first, I was like, I wasn't sure about it. If I was like, should we go see it at a theater? Like we could just take the baby to my mom's or her mom's, and we could just go to a theater and see it. But I thought, for the sake of a unique experience, let's do the premiere access. Let's try it out. And it was actually really nice. It still was gorgeous on my home TV.
For sure.
It was great. We only paused it once, but it was just because I wanted to go back because there was a shot that was so nice. It was when Sisu first started to run across the rain, and it looked so cool. And I was like, hang on, I want to watch it. I want to see that again. So popped it back a few seconds and watched her do that again. So that was a nice, unique thing that you can do at home. And obviously, this is not anybody that we've all watched quite a few of these movies at home. Little Things we watched, and Judas and the Black Messiah I watched at home. So it's not anything too unique, but for something that's kind of on the scale of a Disney movie or a blockbuster film, it was kind of different to be watching it at home so early. But I thought that this was kind of a good movie for it because it had a lot of quiet moments. Even though we talked about the action adventure, there were a lot of good quiet moments in this movie. So sitting here at home, it was actually fairly enjoyable. But I did miss the big screen element, I have to say. So it is what it is.
Andrew, how was your theater experience?
It was fine. I was with you guys.
What?
Surprise.
They don't remember you.
Never
I
do,
remember
never
the movie, I
have.
don't remember you.
It was fine. I liked it. I genuinely enjoy watching a movie in a theater. So it's nice to have that, instead of your home surround sound, which is only limited to like a single bar, you have surround sound that is literally surrounding you. And that felt good to be back in seeing a brand new film.
I have surround sound. Thank you very much.
You want to know what happened to me at this movie?
What happened?
Mostly for David.
People grunting?
No. I was pretty absent-mindedly walking in, just not really paying attention to anything.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to go get a drink from the concession stand. Y'all go inside. So I get up, I go to the concession stand. There's one person in front of me, so I'm standing like back at the start at the line area. And I realize, what am I holding? And I had carried in my water bottle without even noticing that I had it.
Yeah.
No one stopped me. I like probably very braggadociously just swung it around like a habit. The ticket guy didn't stop me. Nobody stopped me.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, now I can't go order a drink now.
They're just happy to have you.
I have one in my hand.
Yeah.
So I felt both bad and a little dumb. But I sure enough, I went, well, screw this. And I left the line and took my drink into the theater and just drank my water.
You were standing in line holding.
You're gonna do it that way.
I was standing in line holding
bottle.
a water bottle.
You've committed to
That
the
was
bit.
full.
You got to do it.
That was
It
full.
wasn't
That was
full, but it
Oh,
had
yeah.
enough to get me through the movie.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And you
I
passed.
don't know why I carried it in.
And you pass through so many people.
I have to say, I envy Josh. Josh always has interesting theater stories, and I never have any good theater stories. Josh is always like next to some lady who's like narrating or on Tinder or something in the middle of the theater, or you got like somebody will have sticky popcorn that they throw on you or something. It's always something. The best theater experience I ever had is when I saw Django Unchained. This is a long time ago. When I saw Django Unchained, there was a guy who was sitting in front of me, and every time Django shot someone, which if you've seen Django Unchained is a lot, this guy would say quite loudly, "Drop him like a bad habit," and every time, bang, dropped him like a bad habit, bang, and dropped him like a bad habit. Just like
That's a lot
at least
that's in that movie.
at least 38 times this old man in front of me, no, who dropped him like a bad habit. It's the only great theater story.
Listen, if you find a good joke, stick with it. Stick with it.
You know, bad theater experiences are annoying in the moment, but they sure do make memorable experiences.
Oh, they're great. I mean,
Yeah.
When you're sitting there, you're like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
Shut up. You know, come on, man. Come on, we got it. We get it. But man, it's really funny in retrospect. Josh always has like ladies tell him to turn his phone off too.
I do not.
Yeah, I'll be like, I've gone to theater with Josh like 3 times, and like 2 of the 3s, there's somebody goes, "Will you turn your phone off, please?" And you're like, it's the ads. This is a Coca-Cola ad.
I mean, that's fair. I don't have to turn my phone off during the Coca-Cola ads. They don't ask you to turn the phone off until after the ads run.
That's true.
What about the time that we went to go see The Post, and like there was a whole row of people behind us who couldn't figure out how to sit down?
I don't know. I didn't go to The Post with you.
Oh wait.
Getting up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah, they were just like, do you want to sit here, Harold? How about over here, Geraldine? And they just like,
how about you sit where you're assigned?
Yeah. And they just kept playing musical chairs and they wouldn't sit down.
No, buddy.
Yeah.
But
well, you don't have that happen at home. You can sit wherever you want.
No, and I will say that about the home experience, it is nice to have the option in that case. Because as we've talked about in the past, the theater experience is I think relatively well priced in terms of the actual movie, but there's a lot of things that go into taking a family. I'm just a family of 3 right now with a 2-week-old.
Oh, sure.
But so I'm not at that point yet. But when you start talking about families of 4, families of 5, trying to get like a big group of people together, the expenditures go up, and you're getting food, you're getting whatever. So it is nice. It was nice to have the option of staying home and not having to worry about getting a sitter, not having to worry about dropping it off and getting to the theater on time, and oh no, we left this, we left that. So it was nice. I don't prefer it to the theater experience. I know a lot of people out there are still like, there are a lot of people out there pushing to like basically get rid of the theater experience, to just have everything released on demand at home. And
listen, I'm not that introverted.
And it's the option was nice. I'd be fine with, if the general window, like in the past, there's been like a 90-day window for films in theater before it could even touch home video. And then there's a time, there used to be a time span for that before it would even be close to being on television. So I'm not as stickler about like if the window for movies, drops down to, 2 months or, maybe even less in some cases, 45 days. I don't think that's necessarily the end of the world, but I understand that theaters are going to continue to do what they have to try to, keep that theater window special. But yeah, so I don't know if I would do it again, but for this experiment, it was nice. It wasn't too bad.
Just to kind of touch base with you on that one, what I want to say is that this is not unusual, like what you're describing. Now, obviously, we're in the circumstances of a pandemic, so it's not really, there's nothing we can really do about this. But like, this has been kind of a changing thing for years, and it's really since the beginning of watching television, of watching movies, because in the history of this, there comes a time when like people need to feel, when studios were scared because everybody was just going to be staying home,
Mhm.
and everybody was just going to be staying home and not going to movies. So that's why in the 50s we get these giant, big old epics, and there's 70 millimeters. There's 70 millimeter epics. Then a few years later we get the American New Wave, which is a slug of new movies, and then we get surround sound, and then we get blockbusters, and then we get Star Wars, and then we get the independent circuit. So it's constantly changing. And right now, I think we're just entering another phase of it where it's you either go out or stay home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we're-
we've at least got to go through a little bit longer phase of people making pandemic lockdown movies before
Yeah.
we can move on to something else.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an effort from I think I think there's an effort from the filmmaking industry itself and the theater industry, obviously, to continue to make the theater experience worth
Mhm.
going to. Where whether that's more dynamic sound, bigger screens, things like these more what's the word upscale five-star restaurant movie theaters, where they're bringing you like full meals, and whereas and there's obviously a lot of smaller theaters like our own Circle Cinema that has that more traditional feel, but it's a struggle for theaters to stay relevant, and they lost a lot of money over the course of the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
And so hopefully they can come out well on this. It's nice to see that there are some movies that are going to stay theater exclusive, as opposed to just jumping right into streaming services. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this wave moves on.
Anybody
right,
else got anything else about the movie itself?
I wanted to say that the voice acting was great.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Kelly Marie Tran, who came into the project kind of late, she was great. Aquafina was very funny. And I never recognize her voice when I hear it, but Gemma Chan as Namari was actually really good too. So I thought all those three characters especially were really good. Or those
I
three
agree.
performances are real good.
Yeah, I thought everybody stood out. I thought it was great. Everybody seemed to work well together, meshed well. Dug it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's go ahead and start wrapping this up. We can do our letterbox game real quick.
Oh my goodness, who won? I genuinely don't remember. Andrew, do you remember?
Yeah. Actually, I think it was you.
Was it me?
It was you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, gentlemen, what do we feel like our guesses are for the early reviews? Remember, this is a very early review of Raya and the Last Dragon.
I'm gonna guess like 3.9.
David's in at 3.9.
I am going to do 3.7.
3.7.
3.7 for Andrew.
This man's undercutting me.
$1.
I don't like the position I'm in. I'm gonna risk it and play high and pick 4.0.
4.0. Oh,
4.
I'm in a tight spot.
Oh
I'm
man.
in a tight spot. I had to tie with Andrew or just win outright. This is
Yeah, you got a 3.7 from Andrew. 3.9 from David, right?
That's right.
It's been so long, I can't remember. And then a 4.0 from Josh. One of you is exactly correct.
Oh boy, no ties. That's good.
One person. Now, it looks like we've got 26,000 people have watched it. And we are in with a 3.7. Andrew takes it home.
Andrew.
Exactly
This is
right.
crap.
Again, we don't give out $100 prizes if you were to get it correct, but you have won. David, I don't remember if you're keeping score, but we'll have to fill you in on where we're at because this season's gonna be crazy.
Don't worry, I watch and listen to every episode, so I'll be a big tally at the end of the year.
Okay,
I
fair.
don't know where we are
Fair.
either. I've only got 4 movies, but I know there were 2 others that have been reviewed. So we'll figure that out later.
And I don't remember who won either.
Do you want me to do a rundown of the opening weekend for it?
I didn't even know if you had one, but if you do, yeah, let's do it real quick.
Yeah, all right, here we go. So, Raya and the Last Dragon debuted March 5th. It opened to $8.5 million and finished number 1 on the weekend, with Tom and Jerry at number 2 in its second week, brought in 6.6. Chaos Walking, which I haven't even had a chance to really look into yet, but that's that Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley movie, I believe. Brought in 3.7. And at number 4, a movie called Boogie, brought in 1.2. And at number 5, still hanging in there, is Crude's The New Age, brought in 788,000. That's been a pretty popular one.
Yeah, Crude's movie is
on the year. Yeah, for 2021, domestically, Tom and Jerry's still in the lead this year with 23 million estimated. The number 2 movie of the year is The Little Things, which you can listen to our review of. The Marksman at number 4. Raya and the Last Dragon, with its opening weekend, moved into the number 4 spot. And then Judas and the Black Messiah is the fifth highest grossing movie of the year. So we've reviewed 1, 2, 3, 4 of the top 5 so far this year.
Excellent.
Internationally, things are very different through 2021 because China is a box office that's completely back open at this point. So most of the top 10 are Chinese films. But luckily, Raya and the Last Dragon is made 27 million worldwide, putting it in the number 12 spot on the year so far. So overall, good things. It's an interesting conversation with Raya and the Last Dragon having this simultaneous release, both premiere access on Disney Plus and in theaters, and Tom and Jerry, which is available for free, plus the cost of having HBO Max, but also in theaters. It's kind of interesting when you look at Raya and the Last Dragon opened with just $8 million in theaters, but you can pay for it at home. Mm-hmm. Tom and Jerry, like I said, is free, open to $14 million. So even though you can literally watch Tom and Jerry for less money at home, it made more at the box office, which is kind of an interesting thing. Box Office Pro, which is a website I don't really cite very often, but I was looking into it this weekend. They said that there's a couple different reasons for that. One, Disney has had a little bit of struggles negotiating with 3 of the 4 major theater chains. And 2, now this is an interesting one. I don't get into these kind of details too often, but the demographics, they take like polls, or they take like audience statistics a lot when they come out of theaters. And the gender breakdown for Raya and the Last Dragon is much more female than Tom and Jerry. So I don't know how that plays in all the way, but you look at Tom and Jerry is like 50-ish% male, whereas Raya and the Last Dragon is much higher. I think it's like 56 or 57% female audience. So I don't really know how that plays in, but it's an interesting stat. As Tom and Jerry might be seen as a little bit more for the whole family, whereas Raya and the Last Dragon is more for, as a Disney movie. People think it's more targeted towards girls. That's probably a problem with marketing more so than anything. But interesting. So, but Raya and the Last Dragon, much better reviews so far than Tom and Jerry.
So. Yeah,
but I will clue in our audience that you can expect a Tom and Jerry review sometime down the line as well.
Oh, and I wanted to point out the last bit of that too, though, is that Disney on March 9th crossed over the $100 million subscriber mark, whereas HBO still, according to at least as the last report that I have here from the Motley Fool, has only 17 million activations of their subscribers. So people who have activated their account in any way. They have 41 million quote unquote subscribers thanks to AT&T, but only 17 million accounts have been activated.
Well, they are more expensive.
It'll be interesting I know Disney will never do this, but it will be interesting to see what the Premier Access numbers are, in terms of who's buying it. With 100 million subscribers, I mean, you only need like 10% to buy it and you make $3 million. So interesting.
Very interesting.
I'll call it there. What are our scores for the movie?
Yeah. So I've decided to go with a 4.5 from me. I have very little complaints about it. I thought it was one of the better original animated films I've seen in quite some time.
I give this a 4.0.
Yeah,
Solid
and
4.
I think I'm gonna give it a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 as well. It's really good. I don't think there's not that much fat to trim here. A little repetitive in the messaging, but that's not the worst thing. So that's not the worst problem you could have with a movie. So
Yeah.
definitely go see it.
Yeah, I agree with 4.5. That's where I will fall as well.
Cool. That ends us up with the 4.37. So a 4.5 from the So Many Sequels squad.
Awesome.
Great. Well, that wraps up this episode of So Many Sequels. Be sure
Before we go, we got to talk about David's little, sequel.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Addressed David's.
Yeah,
David's part. No, I guess it's the third in the series now. I guess technically.
Yeah, in a way. It's yeah.
Kind of a
got
spin-off.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
A bit of a spin-off in a lot of ways. There's some elements from my movie, but there's some from someone else's. Yeah, my wife Nikki and I welcomed our son Jackson Neal to the family 2 weeks ago. He was born February 23rd, so then date this video for you. And he's a pretty good little kid so far. When he's not crying, he is my favorite. When he is crying, he's towards the bottom. He's under Sky. We have
He's a little less favorite.
He's under Sky. My favorite interactions so far, mostly how he interacts with my dog Sky, because Sky is very cautiously watching him a lot, and then when he starts crying, she runs and she finds her great. It's she's like,
I don't want to be here for this.
I don't do babies.
That's funny.
It's very that's kind of been a lot of fun, and he's still getting used to everything. So, but yeah, I'll see if maybe he can make an appearance at some point in one of these videos. We'll see. But he enjoyed Raya and the Last Dragon. He kind of grunted and ate during it. So
That's good.
Good.
he enjoyed it as best he could.
Good.
Yeah, that's so. Maybe we'll see him. I'll be in a few less videos, I should say. Going forward, I think there's a few videos that I'll miss this year. But there's Max. But
Max.
But yeah. So thank you.
Yay!
Very
Congratulations to the progress.
Yes.
Very exciting stuff. Very exciting.
Very.
Yeah, you can. Maybe I'll put him on. I'll put a post with him on our Patreon or something.
Hey, there you go.
On our Instagram account.
Like you said, we have a couple episodes coming up that you are not a part of, but you did send us a video to edit in, which I believe he makes an appearance in.
He does. He is in that one.
So y'all will see him soon, if you haven't already, through just knowing David in real life. So look forward to that. We will see you guys next time with another fun movie review and some news. So find us online on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Letterboxd, and on Patreon. Just search for So Many Sequels on all of those apps. We're bound to come up somewhere. If you're watching our YouTube video, hit that subscribe button and the little thumbs up like and leave a comment. Do all those good
Ring the bell and all that.
Yeah, ring the bell. And check out our podcast feed if you haven't found that yet. It's a lot easier to listen to.
What are you doing over there, Andrew? Yeah.
Andrew's just dancing. We've hit the point where he's just losing.
He's desperately trying to stay awake. He's desperately trying to stay awake.
So find us on those apps, whatever your favorite podcasting app is, and on YouTube.
Yeah.
We'll be back. Adios. Bye now.
See ya.